What up? Oh, I am really dark. There we go. How's it going, folks? Rick Arnott Cesano. You can't stick around today, Cesano. That is all good, my friend. Dun, 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 dun. For some reason, this music doesn't get me copyrighted, so I think we found our tune. Leaf Storm, we've just started. What's the level of the music like? Is it good, bad? Is it overpowering? It feels overpowering. Seems good? Alright. So how we're doing all today? Again, apologies for Friday. I really wasn't feeling the best. Slept most of it. I was so distraught at finding out Tom Warren blocked me today that I had to sleep preemptively for a bunch of hours just to make sure I was ready for that shocking news. Because I called him out for the lying piece of shit that he is. And he got offended by it. You see, it's all okay when they come out and say baseless stuff just to stir trouble in the community, but when you call them out, they get really offended. It was that, or the fact that I said he's become the next Red Dragon. He may have taken offense to that one. Man, these PlayStation fanboys are moving them goalposts like crazy. They can't stop. They cannot stop. Oh, he is. Still better than Notable Insider. Japan hates Xbox. I can't believe Icon Era actually did that. So how have we all been? Have we been good? What have we all been playing? I know, Leafstorm, you've been RPG makering quite heavily. Sev, you know you're on camera, right? They've all seen you now. You don't have to run away. Wow. Star Trek Online? I want to give that game a try. The funny thing is, I don't know which tweet was actually the one that pushed him over the edge. The one that I was praising him, that could be construed, if you're stupid, as me calling him out. Or the one where I compared him to Red Dragon. I'm not sure. I mean, I play Final Fantasy 14 on console. I mean, on, like, controller. It takes a lot of, mental gymnastics, but you get there. I even remember playing Final Fantasy 11 on, controller. So I will probably opt for a controller. Oh, Sanchez. I know, man. I know. Did you see Tom Warren's post? Let me see if I've got it. I had to go into incognito just to see it because he's blocked me. It says Sony's PlayStation employees at its London studio were bidding farewell to PlayStation chief Jim Ryan 5 days ago, ahead of his retirement next month. Now they've all been laid off just 5 days later. Jimbo, I mean, this is... Leaf, I on the deck play it with the deck controls. Yo, why so serious? How's it going, my dude? How's it going, Nodster? Ardent, Mr. 7-Digit, welcome to the stream. Spider-Man 356, not 365. You caught me out there. Rick, I play on PC anyway. MMOs I play on PC. I like using third-party tools, like Act and stuff. I'm sure you've heard of Act, but my vision isn't the best, so having things called out for me a little bit. I don't overly abuse it, but having things called out for me a little bit helps. You can do both, right? You can both play Final Fantasy 14 and listen to my stream. I'm actually thinking of uploading these as a podcast as well at some point. Oh, did he? Yeah. I am so behind on the news lately. I think I've I have been sleeping a lot. My body is just wanting to recover really, really quickly, so my sleeping schedule's crazy. I think I'm sleeping like over half a day at the moment, which is not normal because I usually sleep about 5 hours a day. But at the moment, I think I'm sleeping about 10 to 12 hours a day at the moment. It's crazy. So I'm really behind on news. What up, One Beanie?
You know how to get to that O2?
Huh?
You know how to get to that O2?
Yeah.
Okay.
You use the Google Maps and you put O2 in the... Why? Why do you want to go to the O2?
My friends having a birthday party that because of weekend.
What, this weekend?
I don't know.
It can't be this weekend because I'm going with your uncle somewhere. Huh? He needs to drop some stuff off at the skip. But that's on a Friday.
Oh, fuck. Frustrating me sometimes.
I love taking the piss out of the kids. It's too easy. Oversleeping makes you more tired? Yeah, Woodpit, I know. But I think mine is a combination of just stress and the cold I've got. It's almost gone though, so that's good. I mean, you can probably still hear a little bit lingering in my voice, but I'd say I'm about 90% there now, so that's good. Yeah, if you oversleep, your body gets even worse. I know that, but I think my body is using that time to recover from the cold. Which, it's working. It's working. The more I sleep, the better I feel overall, so... I'm not really on much medication. I mean, I think I'm taking like cold tablets, but they're not the drowsy ones, because I need to work during the day. But yeah. Has anyone seen a Netflix series called The House of Ninjas? I'm on episode 6 now. It's really good. You should definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it. I'm really enjoying it. Anime, it is not a grind. Should I tell you why it's not a grind? Because each expansion is designed to take the character that you're using from level 1 to the cap for that expansion. So if you're just playing through the story on its own and you're using that same class throughout the whole game, you will get to the max level on all of them. It's actually one of the least grindy games out there. Unless you're farming for Atma, then good luck. But yeah, I want to play Final Fantasy 14 on Xbox right now, but if I start it on my account, it locks it onto another profile, and I've already got an account on PC. It's the same for, you know, when PlayStation released, it's the same for when Xbox released, or when it comes out Switch. It's a Square Enix policy. You can only link one profile to your account, and it's a permanent thing as well. You can't remove it. So unless I create a temporary account to jump into the Xbox version, I have to wait until the release. Skull and Bones is grindy, yes. But I'm enjoying it, mainly just going around and just blasting ships and having mindless fun. You're doing side quests. Why would you do that? I mean, I can see why you'd want to do it, but why would you? Why? What can possibly possess you to do that? The Realm Reborn ones are not very good. You don't need money. Honestly, don't really need money. The game will give you almost all the gear you need through the expansion to keep you going. And then just make your way through. Triple Triad's cool. It took me maybe 8 hours and then I was hooked. Yeah. I like Skull and Bones. Honestly, I think people are giving it a hard time for nothing. It's not a great, it's not the best game in the world. But it's simple enough where someone like me can just go in and have mindless fun and play around and dick around in there and come out having enjoyed a bit of the stories, the combat and the ships, and just have a good time. Kind of pick up and play and drop. Through quests, through the missions. Some of the side quests will give you armor as well, but that usually comes later on. For the time being, you don't really need anything. Honestly, if you was on the actual live servers, I'd just give you, 200,000 gil or 500,000 gil and you'd be on your way and you wouldn't need anything pretty much for the rest of the game. Unless you want to buy cosmetics, like stuff you can glamour. Then you're going to need a lot of money. A lot of money. But that can come endgame. Hey, Stevie! What's up? Maybe I'll do a Final Fantasy XIV stream before Rebirth comes out. They did. Oh, that is a very, very, very controversial statement there. Cult of Carl, what do you mean? What do you mean? That is a controversial statement there. I like it. I do. I like it. It's contentious. It's thought-provoking. I must know more. I just want OP weapons. The best weapons are earned for free. So you've got the raid weapons, which you get through playing the raid. You've got the mediocre weapons, which you get through the story. And then you've got the relic weapons, which you get through questing the relic weapons, which are all free. Look, I get that, Edward. At the moment, especially, I don't know how it's like in the US or anywhere in Europe, but in the UK, the economic crisis, the standard of living is horrendous. We haven't had pay rises in about 4 or 5 years. Tech companies are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and for the most part, all of us are in tech. The businesses that are thriving are those that are in like the plumbing sector, the manual labor basically. Fixing boilers, fixing toilets, fixing blockages. The tech industry is shrinking hardcore, and it's continuing to shrink because less and less people are coming to the UK for work and going to places like India and stuff like that because it's just cheaper, right? And that's a problem because if you don't get work in, you lose your job. And I keep referring, a lot of people keep looking at these gaming industry companies and seeing it, but all tech companies are experiencing it. Like, I work for a American digital agency, and we used to have in our office about 700 people. I think we're now down to double digits. And every time they look at the balance book and it's getting close to the red, they look at who they can get rid of to put it back into the black. I mean, literally just Friday last week. Thursday, we had a project manager responding to a client, and on Friday, they vanished. And when we inquired about it on Monday, we found out that that person had been laid off. And they're laying off people, 1 or 2 people at a time now, so they don't have to answer to the local government because it's not mass layoffs like the one in Sony. RAF, it probably won't. I expect Microsoft to buy more, but it won't. Anime, you're probably going to be solo until you get to about level 15 or 16, I think it is, when you get to your first dungeon. You'll get to your first dungeon depending on where you are. Who have you gone with? Limsa Laminsa, Uldar, or Gridania? You're level 39, so you've done your first dungeon already. So you've done it. I mean, 14 is primarily a single-player game until you get to dungeons and primal fights and stuff like that. Everything else is done solo. There's no need for people. The open world is pretty much just fodder. You get XP through dungeons. Class quest should be around 50, yeah. I think if they go with EA, they have to make everything multi-plat. If they go with T2, I just think it's going to take 2, 3, maybe 4 years for it to go through. And the people that are going to be hurt in the process are going to be Xbox gamers. But Microsoft will buy more. And those 4 games going is just a form of, hey, look, we are just painting this nice picture for you. We are giving games away. We've even given our best game of 2023 away. I promised that we'd do this under oath, and here you are, me keeping my promise. So if I promise that I'm going to do the same with whoever I'm buying next, you have to take my word for it. Otherwise, me making that promise is for nothing. And then the FTC has no legs to stand on. They have no grounds now. The FTC's whole argument about Microsoft foreclosing is finished. You got Square Enix for the lols? Cesano, this stream or the... this stream we're just going to be talking about basically a little bit of ongoings. We've got a couple of videos to watch and just talk about stuff in general. But this is brutal, right? This is brutal. How do you go to the London studio 5 days before? Oh, a new doggo. My kids have been hounding me for a dog. I got 2 cats. That's enough for them. But no, they want a dog as well. Sully, yeah, that's correct. And then with Xbox perks, they'll be giving away free FIFA packs, Madden packs, stuff like that. So, yeah, that can entice people to come over. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know if he actually told anyone, but that grin tells me, you suckers, you have no idea what's coming in the next 5 days. Got you, bitches, while I'm on my yacht. Hyper, huh? they're all they're awesome when they're young. Yeah. I think this was a lowball kind of what are you doing, man? What are you doing? But you want to know what's the most disgusting thing that I've seen so far? It's the fact that I'm seeing PlayStation fans, not a lot, mind you, but I'm seeing PlayStation fans defend this, saying that they deserve to be closed down, they should have been closed down ages ago, Media Molecule should be closed down, and now they're calling out for other companies to be closed down. These are real lives that they are talking about. And they are saying that they deserve to be closed down. Like, shut the hell up, man. Hey, Steve, you've seen Kitchen Nightmares, right? Some of those episodes, those Kitchen Nightmare episodes, they had already shut down before Gordon had even got there, and they fabricated the whole thing. People are really good at acting. Look, we all know what's happening here, right? It's obvious, yeah? It's a combination of, hey, we have COVID, everyone's at home, we need as many people as we can get in because we can't supply fast enough. The demand is too great, so we need to supply more. That bubble grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, and then it went pop. And then people said, oh my god, we can actually go out and touch grass. And so they went out and touched grass, and guess what? They're not buying games anymore. And those people that ain't buying games, well, that starts to hit the bottom line. And guess who gets chopped off when the bottom line gets hit? It's not it's not the CEOs or the COOs taking a pay cut like they would do in Japan. I mean, just look at Helldivers 2 and the mess they had with their launch. A couple years ago, Yoshi P actually stopped the sales of Final Fantasy XIV in order to keep players logged in and stop more people coming on board. He stopped the free trial, he stopped any way to access the game for new players until they were able, during COVID, to get more data centers set up to handle the load of people coming in. But that's the Japanese culture. The Western culture is, screw you. The easiest way to do this is to cut the fat. It's just the way it is. I never did play Fable Legends. Hey, Ninja Squirrel, how's it going? I mean, look at the Wii U, right? The CEO of Nintendo came out and said, this is my failure. Not the staff, but mine. It's my job to make sure we deliver on hardware and content. And I failed to do that. So he took a 50% cut in his salary to make sure none of the staff was let go. Because he said, at the end of the day, these are the people that make the games. These are the people that deliver that magic. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So he took a 50% cut. Who at Sony, Microsoft, EA, or Activision Blizzard would take a 50% cut? I mean, we saw Bungie, right? When they asked the Bungie leadership, did you consider taking a pay cut to save staff members? And Bungie's leadership turned around and said, we're not that sort of company, buddy. So, Yeah, we don't do that here. We're not that sort of company. You know, it's just a different culture, different mentality. They just don't do it. But this is awful. There's nothing you can say here. But when we're looking at the studios, Japan studio's gone, London studio's gone, Luminous Productions are all gone. Is Toys for Bob gone? I thought they were still about. Yeah, they are still about. Just, who is this Ryan Goffett? I see him a lot lately. He appears all the time on my timeline now. Can't get into who is what or what he does, but one of my friends is facing bankruptcy of the changes in IRS tax codes this year. See, I think that's wrong, Susano. I think, you know, if the changes have happened, it shouldn't be retrospective. It should continue from the moment it starts. That's what they tried to do with Microsoft, and Microsoft now are in court with, I think, the IRS to fight their case, because the IRS made changes, and they said, "Hey, Microsoft, now you owe us magically this much money," and it's like, well, no, we've paid our taxes, and they're like, well, not anymore, because we changed the rules, and now we can go back in time. There you go. Mr. Tom Warren has blocked me. They even had 2 cheers and toast. I think they're referring to, yeah. Awful, awful stuff. But I think this is sad. A bunch of games got cancelled as well, Twisted Metal being one of them. Not much, Dubs. We've just been chatting away. Having a casual stream. Casual stream. Talking about all things. Hey, Devastator, how's it going? Thoughts on Pokemon taking a break until 2025? I think that's a good thing, Devastator. They haven't been innovating for a while, and I think they kind of need to just stop doing a yearly cadence release and go back and decide, you know, think about what they want to push out there and actually, you know, innovate for a change. Hey, Devastator. The other ones weren't bad, actually. The other ones weren't bad. Not as weird as the first one. The first one was really weird. The second one I think was a little more wacky, but not weird enough, so. Let me see if I can find it. I think one of these was the reason. Oh, this is really cool. Thank you very much for that super chat, $2 Canadian, Devastator. And thank you for the videos. Lost Helden is coming to Xbox. So for those of you that don't know, it's a RPG. Let's see if I can find it. Well, there's this one over here. I said Tom Warren now is the Red Dragon. Because all it does is post hate towards Xbox. And this one over here, right? I said, Tom Warren says, I don't think it will be. Referring to the video where he says he doesn't think Elder Scrolls 6 will be exclusive. Then I said, Twitter says, Tom Warren confirms Elder Scrolls 6 not exclusive. I said, you're all a bunch of idiots. You know, that's not what he said. And I said, Tom Warren also confirmed Indiana Jones was coming day 1 to PS5. Game not even in production for PS5 at all. And don't forget, Sea of Thieves took 13 months to port. 13 months. So Sea of Thieves production for porting started during the ABK trial after Phil Spencer, under oath, said that games would be going to PlayStation on a case-by-case basis. So his lawyers probably advised him, it's best you start working on something now because it's going to take at least a year to port it over. So we can at least show the FTC and the courts something when we go to buy our next publisher. Because you're not finished. So if we have some games now in production, then guess what? The FTC will have literally no leg to stand on. But that means that if something like Starfield or Indiana Jones is going to get ported to PlayStation, it's going to take at least a year or two, right? It's way bigger. It's way more nuanced. So, and the fact that it hasn't started, it's not even in production, development, anything. And my dude was saying that Indiana Jones was coming. I said, you know, he's an engagement chaser. And so I think he blocked me for either this one or the other one. Alright, Chaos Prime, to be fair, the first one's creator used JoJo Bizarre and inspiration, so it's going to be... That explains why it's a bit wacky. But I don't think I said anything wrong here. I think this one may have been a little below the belt. It was tongue-in-cheek. But people are too soft on social media. There's another super chat here. Simon Brandy, £2. Why did Warren block you? Okay, we've just covered that. Tom Warren, Xbox dashboard and Game Pass apps confirmed for PS5. What a bunch of malarkey. Yeah, that guy chats a lot of shit. Well, Susano, the other thing is, Microsoft Windows runs on DirectX, right? And a lot of the games now are designed for DirectX 12. Xbox is built on DirectX, I think 12U. So it's why the porting is a little more streamlined. PlayStation doesn't support DirectX, so you kind of have to refactor all of it to make it work. It's not a 5-minute job. It's a big job to port it over, right? Like you're saying, you don't just flick a wand and it's done. People don't understand that. People think that, hey, if I'm going to port this game over to the other side, it's going to take like 5 minutes to do. All it is just putting it into a conversion tool and doing it. And maybe with PC and Xbox, there's some truth to that because they run on the same language, the same architecture. But for PlayStation, that is not the case. It absolutely is. Then there's the whole optimization side of things. You know, with the slightly different hardware spec, the different way of compression, the different way of API calls, the different, rendering techniques, everything. But, even if we were to see Starfield go to PlayStation, it's about 2 years away. Guess what? The new Xbox is out by then, with Blade. Who's going to give a shit by then? Didn't Warren say that he's not even a journalist? He's just some random dude in a closet that decides to report on fake news? Didn't he say on Destin's podcast that there's another big game that he knows about that's also going to be announced as part, outside of the 4? Hey, Senshi, thank you very much for that sub. Didn't he say that there was another big one? What happened to that big one? Was it a big juice? So I haven't seen developer kit for PS5, so working off. I I've seen developer kits for the PS2, the PS3, and the 360. They're huge, man. They are big. They are monstrously big. The PS2 one was ridiculous. It was so thin, like about that thick, but it was like that wide. It was weird. Why would they design it like that? Why not just make it into a box or something? Which modders have given up? Only one modder came out publicly and said, I'm not working on this, and that's the co-op mod. I've not seen anyone else come out and say that they're not working on it. Have you seen how many mods there are for that game? Have you actually seen how many mods there are for that game? I mean, 15 mods were just released today. There is 6,635. And there are daily mods coming out. And this is before the creation kit has even launched. Don't forget, the creation kit is coming where they can actually do so much more. This is with them being limited with what they can do. Once the creation kit comes along, they're going to be able to do so much more. Exactly, Devastator. Yeah, Forza Horizon was good. I enjoyed Forza Horizon. I didn't enjoy Motorsport, but I enjoyed Horizon. And I'm enjoying Starfield. I don't know about any of how other people feel, but I'm enjoying it, and the creation kit is going to make it bigger. But there are so many mods. I don't understand how people are saying there's no mods for this game and people have quit. Like, how many more mods do you want? Do you want 1 million mods? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. One person quit because they said they couldn't get co-op working and they couldn't be bothered to get it working. Nintendo will never be affected. Ever be affected. But hey, guess what? The floodgates have opened. PlayStation is going to need more than Pentiment at 120 FPS to save them, as the UK tribunal for PlayStation's $10 billion lawsuit is now proceeding. They wanted to get this off the table. Not only have they just lost $10 billion off the company, but PlayStation themselves are now being... The lawsuit to sue them for $10 billion is now proceeding, and it's going to court. I mean, they are getting hit by everyone at the moment. Jay, they are, but they just do their own thing and no one bothers them. No, this is different. What is this one for? The court granted... What is the cause? This is the one that read about. You know the one that I made a video about recently for the UK, where if you're in the UK, you could be eligible for up to £500 refunds. And obviously, there's a lot of PlayStation users in the UK. It's estimated around $8 billion in value, so maybe about £6 billion. They're not having a good time. They thought that this was going to get thrown out. Even I thought it was going to get thrown out. But the UK, I guess CMA has backed it and pushed it through. You know how the CMA is when it smells a victory. Bold Alpha Pack. I do a lot of that. I've done a bit of the story and then I went to start sightseeing. And my problem is I just continue sightseeing and I just stop playing the story. But I really need to get my gear in place and finish the story because I want to play the DLC when it lands. And obviously I'm not going to be able to start it because I'm so slow at playing games. And with Rebirth just around the corner, I need to finish that too. I'm going to be probably playing that and streaming that. By the way, chat, while we're on the topic of Rebirth, chances are I'm going to be streaming it here, not over at Twitch, because that's the agreement that I have with Square Enix. So hope you're going to enjoy it. Hope you'll turn out. So we can see what the game is like together, for those interested. European law is not that different from the rest of the law. In a case like this, only the lawyers win. It's not Kong, but I'll support. I wonder if I get any money as a PS4 and PS3. So PS3, no. PS4, yes. Have you seen Sony just released a new firmware upgrade for the PS3 that blocks custom firmware? So if you are on custom firmware on your PS3, don't upgrade. You've been warned. Well, Simon, there is a different Final Fantasy for you. Because all of them are unique. Different stories. They're great stories, but each one is different. So if you don't like one, it doesn't mean you're not going to like the other. Look, I've already told Steve that we're going to return at some point one day to finish Kong off. Not Gollum. But we will finish Kong because I am on the last... I'm pretty much on the last stage. I think I am on the last stage. So we'll finish that. Gollum requires another 15 hours and I don't think my sanity can survive that. Sony winning this? I think Sony winning this is, I'd say 70-30 in 65-35 in favor of Sony. I think they've got a good chance of winning, depending on how they spin it. At the end of the day, Sony's got much better lawyers than these random randos, right? That's why Sony pays them the big bucks. Simon, you do know that there is a bunch of Final Fantasy games out there, right? That's why there's the number 15 and 16 next to it. You got loads. Go pick one. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. or they're going to cut a deal with the actual people taking the court, just a out of court settlement. Then that's okay, Simon. If you don't like him, you don't like him. I just hear a lot of people saying that they don't like Final Fantasy and they've only tried one. And then they're really surprised when I say that they're all different. They're not connected. Dragon's Dogma 2 looks really good. I really liked 8. 8 is one of my favorite. But yeah, man, Sony is taking big L's here. Big L's. And they are they're getting hit from all directions. So between their CEO turning around and saying that they're going to start looking at porting their games over to other platforms, which was not specified in any way, shape, or form that it is not Xbox. And that works in the contrary, saying that it is Xbox. So all that narrative about that interview that came out with the CEO, that was before the Q&A. So the Q&A is the latest precedent we have. And he said PC, mobile, and other platforms. The fact that he made it plural means that it's not just cloud. And as we know with these, board directors and board members and COOs and whatnot, they don't just say things for the sake of it, right? They are very, very kind of on point with their wording. They use specific words for specific reasons. And on top of that, Sony went through the transcript in case there was anything that was mistranslated. And what we have as the transcript is confirmed copy from Sony. Not some random huckleberry dude or whatever. It is from Sony. And the fact that they didn't correct platforms to cloud or anything else to make it specific should tell you everything. He didn't do that. If you're referring to the Engadget stuff, it's not in the transcript. He was not specific. It's not in the transcript. The transcript does not state Xbox at all. And that transcript was proofed out by Sony. Said it to who? Who did he say it to? Engadget? Is that the only person that's reporting on this? Mate, even you know that's full of shit. Come on. Even you know that's full of shit. We will in time. And the way Sony's going anyway, I don't think they're going to have a choice at the end of the day. I still wouldn't say no to a Gravity Rush on Xbox. I think that would do really well on Xbox. I do see King Thrash and J-Dub is staying completely silent about this. There's no apple eating or anything from King Thrash about this. He's put the apple away now. If you've seen his tweets, every time there's a bad news for Xbox, he comes out eating an apple. Maybe I should use the same GIF and tag him on it. I don't think you'll see the tentpole titles. You won't see games like Spider-Man, Uncharted, The Last of Us. You won't see those being ported over. But you'll see some of the smaller ones like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, Astrobot, Gravity Rush. games like that. At the end of the day, a console still needs its identity when it comes to exclusives. Just like how I don't think you'll see Starfield, Indiana Jones, Blade, Avowed going over to PlayStation. Games like God of War and stuff, they're going to stay on PlayStation. That's their signature games. That's their identity. That, you know, none of the companies are going to do that. But I still see, you know, the smaller titles will eventually be ported. Because it financially makes sense. I said I think. I mean, it runs on a solid state hard drive. I mean, a standard mechanical hard drive, so. I'm not saying it's confirmed. I'm just saying financially, as a business, that makes sense. Ratchet and Clank isn't going to sell PlayStations. Gravity Rush is not going to sell PlayStations. Jak and Daxter is not going to sell PlayStations. Just like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, and, you know, Sea of Thieves, they're not going to sell Xboxes. So those games that are kind of lower tier, those would be the best ones to port because you're not really losing anything. And I'm not saying day and date. They're going to come out on PlayStation, make their money, and then they're going to double dip. As a business, that makes sense. Because those games have lost their value. They're not making any money anymore. So why not put it on a platform that can make more money off it and give you more money? Just make sure it's not on Game Pass. Because if it's on Game Pass, you lose out. Those games have to be, you know, actual digital sales or physical sales where you get the 30%. It's still not selling consoles. Sea of Thieves is also available on PC. It's available on the cloud. Just because it has more players. Where are those players coming from? Do you have the actual metrics? I don't. And I don't think the majority is coming from Xbox either. I think, like in Helldiver's case, PC's carrying it. There you go, Grim Scythe. PC keeps them all alive. I mean, do you think Helldivers would have been the monumental success it is right now without PC? Not in a million years. The game isn't even that good. I don't understand why PC gamers have fallen in love with it, outside of the nostalgia for Starship Troopers. The game is pretty bland and boring. But who's playing it? Who's playing it? The servers aren't capped anymore. People have moved on. Okay, look, Stellar Blade will say Stellar Blade is gonna save PlayStation. You know, unfortunately, Microsoft and Sony don't give numbers, so all we have is the Steam charts to go by. It's not at the 400Ks anymore or 500Ks. The player count is dropping, and it's dropping hard. If I see this during the day, this drops down to like 100,000. It's no longer at the, you know, like this morning, it was at 100K. This afternoon, it was at 120K. Don't get me wrong, 260,000 is still a lot. But it's not got that same push. Even Power World has started to drop. You know? You can see it here. It's averaging at 280,000 peak. And it drops down to 100. So they're having the same kind of drop rate. Just because a game sells well doesn't mean that people are playing it. it's a bigger problem lost when it was PlayStation that was a PC that was carrying it in the first place. Jay, it's Palworld. It's Palworld. I wonder if bot's gonna. There you go. Invictus. I agree. But what game isn't fun with friends? I've had some of the best fun I've ever had in games like Among Us, playing with friends. You know, at the end of the day, if you're with a group of friends and you're playing a multiplayer game, you can have fun with anything. None of them have come out. Lost. The servers aren't fixed. People are still disconnecting, having connection issues, getting kicked out of the game 20 minutes into a 40-minute mission. It's all over social media. You just have to go look under the official posts. People are still complaining that it doesn't work. The servers definitely aren't fixed. I mean, I know from experience. I went into a mission 2 days ago. I put it on, match made to jump in. I mean, I only play like 1 or 2 games when I'm playing Helldivers. That's all I can really bother playing. Because it's boring. It is literally the same shit over and over and over again. It's actually more boring than Destiny. But, I jump in, do a mission, and after I finish the mission, it disconnects. And then I'm like, well, fuck this. I'm not going back to it for another 2-3 weeks. And you know what? The more it does that, the more people can't be bothered to play it. And they just move on. What, me? I said the game is dead because there's no more server issues? What? I said that. Lost, you sure that I said that? Someone go back and clip it and send it to me. I did not say that at all. Yeah, go back, dude. I did not say that. I said that the player numbers have been dropping. I didn't mention the servers at all. Not once. Come on, Lost. Stop smoking whatever you're smoking. Chaos, did you see Stellar Blade has like 5 times the pre-orders of Rise of the Ronin? It's got my pre-order, mate. Jay, it's got my pre-order. That's all I'm saying. It's like the missus came in and goes, "What game is this?" And I go, "Stellar Blade." She goes, "Have you bought it?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Cool. I'll play it when it arrives." Based. Look, I hope Helldivers does really well. because competition is good, and Sony needs a win at this point. And you know, I don't want any developers losing their jobs. At the end of the day, if a game fails in this day and age, it generally means that a studio is going to get shut down. So I don't want any badness happening to Arrowhead. They're an independent company that's doing their best to do what they can. But I think they shot themselves in the foot by not spending a bit of money and, you know, for some server space. I think they really did. Now, I'll stick by Final Fantasy VII as well. Hey, Sanchez, everyone's talking about Foam Stars as they're burying it. It's Scully. Xbox, we're laying off 8% of our workforce. Everyone, what a terrible company. Pack it up, it's over. PlayStation, we're laying off 8% of our workforce and closing a studio. It'd be a little bit like that. It'd be a little bit like that. But look at this one. Look at this bellend. Microsoft lays off 10,000 people. Sony lays off 900. I'm totally gonna get him community noted. He chats way too much shit. He lies too much. But these are the goalposts that are being pulled here. I'm still curious if Lost found it. Hey, look, Brick, we don't talk about waifus, alright? We don't talk about the chasing of waifus. That's why we're okay with Stellar Blade. Or Stellar Yams, as we're calling it. Jay, I know. I know it is. But I see a lot of people celebrating it as well. And I think this isn't something that should be celebrated. And it shouldn't be something that's justified either. Like, this prick over here is trying to justify it by using a figure that doesn't even apply to the context that they're talking about here to try and pass off that 900 being laid off is okay. Hey, Lions Pride, how's it going? By the way, folks, I did an interview with Lions Pride on his podcast. Definitely worth checking out if you're looking to jump into the world of YouTube and looking to, you know, get started. I go into a lot of stuff in that interview on what you need to do, what you can do, what you should be doing. It was I think it was a pretty good interview. Not tooting my own horn. I think it should be out in a week or so. So definitely worth checking out his channel for that. Lions Pride, if you have the link, send it to me on Discord and I'll post it in chat. Jay, I've seen PlayStation fans actually he actually unblocked me last week. That's cause you went anti-Xbox. It explains a lot with that pony. But, where is it? Look at this PlayStation guy. Nintendo has no studio on live support. London studio and Media Molecule, both studios deserve to be closed. That's a PlayStation fan saying it. They're trying to justify it. This is an out-and-out PlayStation fan. Like, this sort of thing is awful. It's dreadful. You shouldn't be... I mean, how can you... These are people's lives that are being played with here. You know, people have come to me today and saying, oh, you wasn't saying that when ABK let go of 1,900 people. It was a goddamn merger. What do you think happens when a merger happens? People get laid off. And about 1,000 of those people, as we found out, were going to be laid off anyway by ABK because they overemployed. It's not nothing new. It's still sad. It's still awful. But you don't go into a merger thinking that there's going to be no layoffs. There's going to be layoffs. It's one of those things, right? But to turn around and say both studios deserve to be closed, that's messed up, right? To me, that is like truly messed up. Okay. Where have I said there's server issues? Tell me where there's server issues. Where did I say there's server issues? People are still being kicked out. Where is the guy's name? PJ. Is it T? ID? What is the Helldivers? I'll prove it to you. That I didn't say there's server. I didn't say that people are leaving because of server issues. Where is the CE? Where's the guy? Where's the guy? Where is it? He posted something. Where is he? He's the actual director for the game. Because that's the one I saw it on. Where is it? But I can tell you for a fact that there are still server issues going on in the game. Whether you want to believe it or not is irrelevant. But the fact is, they're still ongoing. Where is the guy who's the guy that who's the director for this game? There he is. And you'll see it down here. Oh, fuck my eyes. Now, I said that even without the servers aren't capped, which shows that people have moved on. If the servers were capped, like they were before, would be playing. But the fact that they've had server issues in the past because they were constantly capped is why people have moved on. Some people have moved on. They've sold the game. There's no denying that. That's not just a fictitious thing. I know at least 4 people who've just given up on the game. They even tried to get refunds from Sony, and Sony told them to piss off. Because the time that they spent in the game trying to get onto the game, they couldn't play it. When I say server issues, I'm not talking disconnections. I'm talking actually playing the game. You know, back when they had a cap of 360k, 460k, 500k, 600k, and it was capped. Now it's no longer capped, but they're still having issues. That was on the second point, where you were saying that there is no issues, and there are still issues. Here you go. This is nice and all, but many people, including myself, can't even play the game right now. Not because of the server capacity, but because we can't join lobby, can't create one, can't even play solo since your update from Tuesday. It's you know, and this whole thread has them all over. I didn't switch up. You may have misunderstood what I said. That's perfectly fine. I can be okay with that. But at no point did I say that the game, the game is trash or anything. I've even said that I hope the game succeeds. Hey, Kevin. Thank you for the subscribe. But I hope they get the server issues sorted out because people are still disconnecting. I disconnected 2 days ago after a half an hour game. Once the mission finished, it kicked me straight into the ship, and I didn't get any rewards. And to me, that's a problem. But like I said, to me, I'm just not enjoying the game. I've played it with friends and stuff. I don't see the appeal. There is fun to have there. It's worth the $30. But is it a 9 out of 10 game or a 10 out of 10 like some people are saying? No way. But is it worth the $30? I'd say yes. Which I think I'm being fair with. I never said the game is dead. I said the player numbers have dropped. I even referred to Palworld, saying that the player numbers have dropped. I referred to Palworld straight after, just in case that point I made was misconstrued. Is Palworld dead? No. I enjoyed Kong more. And let's be real, right? The server issues that they had at launch, if this was an Xbox game, it would have been ripped to pieces. It would have been shredded by IGN, Eurogamer, Metro, the works. Which one of those reviews mentioned the fact that people couldn't log in for days on end? Not one. The only one that did gave the game a 6 out of 10. And they got lambasted by the PlayStation community. See, I think what Nicola says here is on point. Nintendo saw through all of this by artificially sticking hardware that's 2 generations behind Sony and Microsoft. They allowed themselves to keep budgets low while games come out fast and sell more than anybody else. Nintendo has proven time and time again that not having the best looking graphics doesn't mean that you can't sell. And by the way, for anyone that's giving Last a hard time, I actually like his opposing view. It does give a nice twist to the streams. Plus, I actually think Last is cool. So, you know, I actually think he's a nice guy. So let's be nice and civil. But yeah, like my view on Helldivers 2, it's a good game. It's I mean, the best I could ever give it is a 7, but I think a 6.5 is fair. That was probably because I just spoke a little low. Is that better? It shouldn't be cutting out. Hey, you should look at the decrease of workers in Sony over the years. They have been dropping a lot. They have been. But like people have been saying, you know, all the jokes aside and all the console warring aside and all the shit aside, this is going to continue for at least throughout 2024. We are going to see more job losses, more people being laid off. I'm surprised people at Naughty Dog and Insomniac are being hit by this as well. You know? That's my biggest surprise. Although Naughty Dog hasn't released anything in years that's notable, all they've done is remasters, so maybe that I can understand a little bit. But Insomniac has been carrying PlayStation on their backs single-handedly with their yearly releases of the games. They've been working their socks off, and they are still getting layoffs. You know, it's wrong. It's wrong. Like, I'll call it out when I see it, you know? It's wrong. I think they've got over 1 million sales, right? I think there's over 1 million sales now, maybe? I think that's what I read somewhere. I don't know about 2 million. But, you know, the more people, the more staff that they're losing, the more quality, you know, talent they're losing. It's just going out the window. It's weird. Who's this? Is that Sean Layden? Who are these two? Oh, Herman Holst. I mean, it just shows you, right? People are crying their jobs out, and my dude is, It just shows you that no executives give a shit about the little guys. They do not. Why, Yuzu are gone? Layoffs are stupid? They are. But do you know what would alleviate these layoffs? If Sony decided to ship some of the smaller games that have been out on the platform for a year to Switch and Xbox. Get those extra sales in. Bring extra revenue in to keep those companies from having to let people go. Right? I don't think they're trimming the wokeness. It depends which part of the world you live in. If you're living in the West, woke is big money. If you're living in other parts of the world, like the Middle East, then it's losing you money, so they get rid of it. Hey, Luigi, thank you for that sub. And don't forget, folks, hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you are new to the channel or returning, smash that red button. We're trying to get to 7,000 subs. Help me help you. Bring you more good content. And like I'd always say, I may joke around, I may mess around, I may fuck around, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm always fair. Fucking up, Peter, man. I feel like I'm fair. I don't feel like I'm, you know, like others that shit on stuff purposefully. I play every platform Demolisher. To my right, I've got my PlayStation 5, Series X, Switch, and I've got my PC here. It just depends what I'm doing. I've got a Steam Deck as well. So it really depends what I can use at the time. Like sometimes I'll remote into my Xbox, sometimes I'll remote into my PS5, play over the cloud, through streaming on GeForce Now. Or sometimes just natively. I insulted your internet speed the other week. It can't be worse than Taz's. Come on. He literally feeds his hamsters to make it run on a treadmill. Is it that bad? That would be true. Your internet speed determines how good the streaming service is going to be. That wasn't an insult. That's more than likely true. If I was on a 50 meg connection, my streaming of GeForce Now would be absolutely horrendous. I'm on a 1 gigabit connection now, so my streaming connection is absolutely beautiful. Back when I had a 50 meg internet connection in the UK, I couldn't stream at all. It was literally pixel art. Pixelation everywhere. But you just said, and I quote, when I asked you whether GeForce Now looks degraded and compressed like xCloud, then maybe I misunderstood what you said. I thought you meant, that's the only thing I can think of, that I must have read it as it looks degraded and compressed for you. Otherwise, why would I insult you? That makes no sense. I don't insult people for the sake of insulting them. If they attack me, then I attack them. But hey, Xbox quackers. And last, I appreciate that. But that's why I always state my speed. But I don't ever insult people for the sake of insulting them. So if you took it, if that's how you took it, if I misread what you said and that was my comment, then I apologize. It was clearly, I clearly misread what you said, but come on, everyone knows me here. I don't do anything like that. It's not me. That's not who I am. And I'd like to think most people here will, say that I'm not like that. No. If I offended him in any way, without knowing, and it was something that I misread, then that's on me, right? That's on me for misreading what he said, so I apologize. I'm not going to sit here and defend it. At the end of the day, if I said something bad, I said something bad. He might be messing with me like the other person messed with me last week. But, you know, I don't like people coming here and feeling like they're being treated like a piece of shit. Because that's not my intention, ever. Unless like the other guy who literally came at me and then I trolled him. What's this? Streaming in general, you can tell the games look streamed like degraded and compressed. PS Now is the same and xCloud. So I'm asking you, GeForce Now, since you have it. No, I don't think it is. You know what? Let's watch this, Mark, and then I'm gonna play. I mean, I did a stream with GeForce Now. I'm just gonna boot up one game just so you can see it on my connection. Obviously, you've got the YouTube compression and stuff, but you'll be able to clearly see how it looks. But BoldAlphawolf with that 5 gifted memberships. BoldAlphawolf was gifting himself a membership. Snowy Rains, Demolisher, Chris George, and Aussie Fan. Thank you very much for that 5 gifted memberships, my dude. You are a legend. You are a legend. I appreciate you. But yeah, Mark, we will check that. I'll boot it up for you so you can actually see it here on stream. Let's just is there another clip? What's this? It's sad that London studio is shutting. To me, this is a big L for Sony. I always thought they should get another shot at the Getaway, or at the very least continue to make first-party PSVR games. I mean, all their studios for PSVR have been shut down, right? They were working on a fantasy live service game. They were prior to this announcement. It's gone. Yeah. No, that's good of MBG. I appreciate that. Come on, let's see some thank you emojis in chat for BoldAlphawolf. Come on. Cesano with the $1.11. I think that's a super sticker. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. That is indeed a super sticker. Thank you very much. Alright, let's stop the music for a sec. Alright. Let's see if this is going to come out. If I'm going to see the audio here. Can you hear this, chat?
Decade. They're cutting waste.
Or is it too low?
How big was London Studios? Like, of the 900, how big was London Studios? How much of a percentage does London Studios make up?
Is he going to talk?
Looks like it's around 50 employees, maybe?
Is that better?
Around 50?
Alright.
London Studios hasn't done anything in a decade. They're cutting waste. How big was London Studios? Like, of the 900, how big was London Studios? How much of a percentage does London Studios make up? Looks like it's around 50 employees, maybe? Around 50? There are two opposing concepts. Lawsuit in UK stating PlayStation abusing dominant position to make money and suing for billions. That's counter to needing layoffs. 8% cut is a waste cut. Let Me Solo Her is retiring.
I mean, Green Goblin, everything to him is multi-platform.
Can't be that big. Eugene says these others are cutting 20 to 30% or more.
When he says waste cut, he's referring to staff members who basically aren't pulling their weight and are a waste of company resources.
Sony PlayStation layoff will impact Insomniac Games, Naughty Dog, London, Guerrilla, and Firesprite. Sony said the PlayStation Studios talks about a different approach and different resources required for its PC and mobile focus.
It was lost and it was awful.
That's another factor, right? If you've got studios that were working on VR or games that might not bridge those gaps, they're like, no. Like PlayStation saying we need games that can land on both console and PC successfully. We need games that can go to mobile successfully. And that's why I said we're probably not going to get any more big first-party VR. That's not their focus.
So they released a £600 VR headset. And like I said from the very beginning, they are not going to support this, and I have a £600 paperweight. The moment they announced that this was going to PC, you know, they're releasing drivers this year to use the PSVR 2 headset on PC, that was the point when you knew that their support for PlayStation with the VR was dead. And I don't think we'll ever see a PSVR 3. And the worst part is, right, if you've used the PSVR 2 headset, it's awesome. It's so good. The eye tracking is really good. The actual motion sensors that actually pick up from the cameras, it's actually really, really well done. It's really accurate. Right? I don't like the fact that it's wired, but it's a really good piece of kit, and it's why I wanted it on my PC. Because I think on my PC, not only does it give me a higher resolution with the lens, but things just look crisper. But, you know, it didn't work on PC. And the games that were on console, outside of Synapse, I mean, I'm not going to go replay Resident Evil 4. I'm not going to go and replay Resident Evil 8. I don't have the time. If they want me to play something, you know, from the outset on VR, you release it day and date with the actual game. You don't release Resident Evil 4 and then 5 years later release a VR and expect me to go back to it. That's not how this works. I don't care if it's free. That's not how this works. Because for some people, great. They've got all the time in the world. They're not doing anything. They're living the life of, you know, the best time of their life, where they've got all the freedom in the world. Unfortunately, people like me don't have that. So, and there's a lot more people like me than there are of the other kind. So people don't have the time to go back and replay games. They just don't. They play it once and move on. The Resident Evil games were really good. I enjoyed them. But like Synapse, that dropped on PSVR 2, I bought it. It's a good game. I like it. There's that new Metro one coming. I bought it. But I really dived into the PSVR 2, hoping that Sony would support it. But just like with the PSP, just like with the Vita, just like with the PSVR 1, the PSVR 2 is having the same problem. Sony just does not want to support their hardware. All they want to do is support the main console. And if that's the case, just don't release it. Don't waste money in developing something that you're going to give up and put into the trash bin 6 months down the line. I think the Vita is probably one of the best handhelds out there. I think it's amazing kit. I love my Vita. I prefer it to my DS every day of the week. But, you know, where's the support? What they need to do is find out how to stop motion sickness. That's the problem with VR in general. Honestly, I used to suffer motion sickness, Mark. The way I actually got over it was just spending a bit of time per day on it and building tolerance just like with everything, you build tolerance and it just does better. You just get better at it. You can't really fix motion sickness. You just increase your tolerance to it. Like my kid, for example, can sit down. He sat down and played Half-Life Alyx, you know, almost all the way, like hours on end before he stopped. He'll sit down and play wizard games and all these sorts of weird games on there for hours on end. Me, on the other hand, I can probably play right now for about 45 minutes to an hour before I have to come off. Like, I have to come off. But that's a lot better than what I used to be at 10 minutes. So it's just building tolerance. Also, you'll see that some games actually have you snapping in view, whereas others are fluid motion. It's worth checking out which one works best for you, because for some people, that snapping across actually breaks the immersion of VR slightly and reduces motion sickness. They don't work on me either, Susano. But there's no real trick to it. It's just training your body for tolerance. Do you think in the end Sony will put their exclusives day one on PC? Yes, I do. Or do you think they'll just reduce slowly? No. I think this is just my prediction. I think that the games for Sony have been pushed, like they've pushed back their games to 2025. They're major first-party titles. They're releasing a couple with Helldivers, Concord, and I think there's one more that's coming this year. That's like a live service game. That might have been cancelled now with the studios all closing down. But there was supposed to be one more, if I'm not mistaken. Those were going day and date. But I think the next PlayStation game that comes along, I think that's being pushed back because they're going to get it working day and date on PC as well, to use that as a test. If that does really well and it bolsters Sony's profit margins high, which I believe it will, because there are still a lot of people out there on PC that would buy PlayStation games but will not buy a PlayStation 5. So that's the market they want to tap into, right? That's a huge market that they can tap into. The growth potential there is immense. Unlike the opposing growth market where you're looking at people converting from PC to PlayStation, that growth isn't as easy to tap into. But if you're trying to tap into an established market already where they've got the hardware, all you need to do is provide the software, the growth potential there is huge. That's why Microsoft dived into PC. It's easier to try and tackle that 150 million market as a growth potential as opposed to trying to grow your console base to build that market value, the market growth. Therefore, I think they're going to use the next game, single-player game that they release as a test bed. And if that does well, which I believe it will, unless they decide to release a really, really bad game, from that point, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more day-and-date games going to PC. That's my view, though, because that, business-wise, makes sense to me. I think Phantom Rebirth is only exclusive for PS5 for 3 months. It is, but we probably won't see it for another 7 to 12 months. More people buy Helldivers on PC than PS5? They did. At least there's more players online anyway. I'm not sure now. And consoles are staying stagnant. Consoles aren't growing, right? Especially this generation. Consoles are actually doing really bad. Consoles this generation are doing really, really bad. Between Microsoft and Sony, by the console end generation, they usually hit about 180 million combined between the two. And that's been stagnant since the PS2 era. I don't think you're going to even get to that this generation. I think we're probably going to get to about 120 million. At max, maybe 100.
They're going to do this VR2 works on PC now. They're going to lean on third party for VR, which means they might be lowering their investment in VR altogether. Like getting the units out and creating them and all of that might slow, unless they can see a surge of demand because it can suddenly be where, the PC audience can suddenly buy it. Who knows?
And that's it. Sony is really banking now on the PC audience to see the tech and say, right, this is actually really fucking good. I really want this. But they're going to have to knock that price down a little bit. They're going to have to take a hit on that price a little bit. But I don't know how much they can take a hit on it because I don't know their profit margins on the PSVR 2 or if they can manufacture it with cheaper parts.
It doesn't change the human element. It still sucks, but 8% is nothing. That's waste.
It was almost beaten mark by the DS. I think they had like 500,000 more to sell. All they needed was one more limited edition DS and they would have done it.
London studio had somewhere between 50 and 200 employees. Let's just say 75 to 100.
They will.
That's a decent chunk of the 900 right there. So, 75. London studio had somewhere between 50 and 200 employees. Let's just say 75 to 100. That's a decent chunk of the 900 right there. So, that studio was either making stuff that they've decided they didn't need anymore, or I don't know. They're adapting.
I mean, look at this hypothetically, right? Everyone is banking on GTA 6. And GTA 6, for all intents and purposes, is probably going to be the biggest game of all time. But here's a question for you all. What happens if GTA 6 flops? Bye. Game over. Bye-bye, studio. You're not coming back from that. There's going to be massive layoffs. It's over for them. I didn't say people are going to stop buying PS5. You're probably not talking to me. I need to stop thinking you're always talking to me. People, if you're talking to me directly, just tag my name in some way or form so I know.
Adapting to the market, and it friggin' sucks, but what are you going to do? If the market's going to stabilize and say VR's not the future, we need games that can land on both console, PC, and mobile. We're gonna lean heavily on third party for VR. We're gonna make the VR PC compatible.
Lion, I think AAA gaming is definitely viable, but you don't have to have $400 million production costs in order to make a AAA game. Tears of the Kingdom is a AAA game. Right? That didn't cost $400 million to make. A AAA game doesn't mean that you need to have everything motion captured or everything up to the T where it has to look movie-like and all of this and all of that. It doesn't need that. It just needs to deliver on all fronts and have a really high quality of it. Music, gameplay. The graphics need to be good. Not photorealistic, but good. It can have a weird and wonderful art style for all that it matters. But the narrative, interesting characters, good side stories, good villains, good backstory, good premise to the game. It kind of needs to hit on all fronts.
If they do D&D, they could do VR with ease. I'm not sure what you're saying.
I never liked myself Lost.
I think they should consider putting their money into games as a service games. Well, they are. Half their investment spending going forward is, half of it is traditional and half of it is live service. Now, that may slow down because of some of the studios and canceled projects, but when they outlined their plans, they were like, we're going half. Sony London Studio announced that they made a Soho engine to support their new game. I guess all that tech's gone now.
Yep. Do you think the increasing the price of games to $70 may have hurt the AAA industry? I think there's a fine balance. I think, in a sense, it has. Because, and this is just me, using economics. If I look at something that's 50, 60 quid, I'm more inclined to be okay buying it. Psychologically, it's still closer to 50 than it is to 100. The moment you go to 70, that starts to edge to 100. And I start seeing that closer to £100. So I'm less inclined to buy games. And I'm more picky with what I choose to buy. It's more a psychological thing than anything else. And for a lot of people, that will be the actual case. But I would buy 2 games for $100 over 1 game at 70. I'd rather wait for that game at 70 generally to drop a little bit in price. Unless it's something I'm going to cover for my work, then, I'll pick it up. But generally, I'm in no rush to go out and pick up a game at $70 because I just don't think the games are worth that value. Personally, to me, they're just not worth it. Not when generally in like a week or two, they drop down to $60 or $50. I'm just going to go grab a drink, folks. I'm going to be right back. And then I want to check out this video that I've seen. Where is it? This one. This is coming from a Sony dude, so I just want to check it out and see his perspective on what's happened. And then we also have, I think, our favorite dude. But I don't want to shit on him too much. He's going through a bad time at the moment. A really bad time. So I'm going to be right back. Give me a second, folks. There's nothing in there, is there? That's what I'm saying. It's just going to be easier right now tonight if you put that. Sorry about that, chat. My kitty was hungry. Before I do that though, I did say I was gonna do a little bit of streaming. For Mark, so I'll do that real quick. And then we can check out that video. Just need to boot up GeForce now. Wash it, crash it, and burn now. Oh no, no, no. Oh no. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Josh! How's it going, Josh? Browse the source real quick. Let's switch it over to here. And let's change that. Wait, really? Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of cloud gaming? Oh, Jesus. That literally defeats the whole purpose of cloud gaming. I really liked Forza Horizon 5. And I like the music too. How's it going, Josh? How's the salt mining going? It probably was Susano. By the way, is Mark still here? Because I'm doing this especially for him. Q.
Press Enter to start. Press X for accessibility.
Wait, why is my controller not working? You're gonna make me use the keyboard. I hate you.
Option highlighted. Option highlight. Settings. Option highlight. Option highlighted. Video. Option 7 of 9. Control type. Button.
Why is my controller not working? Man, I need to fix this stupid thing. It's because I booted up GeForce Now without the actual controller. So I'm going to have to now run this as a keyboard and mouse, and that is not going to look good. Don't judge my gameplay for that. Forza Horizon 5. I'm just showcasing GeForce Now to Mark. Judged. But it's taken a long time to optimize for not even my PC. I'm hoping... I haven't actually bothered trying to turn it off. Yeah, Mark is still here. Man. Let's turn the mic off. I've never had this before. Hey. The power of a 1 gigabit internet connection. No, like honestly, I've used the cloud gaming on like less than 100 meg, and it's not good. The latency is bad. But on a 1 gigabit connection, especially on GeForce Now, which in my opinion right now is the best in terms of cloud gaming. I'm just chatting away. And it should have been done by now. Like, what's it doing? It's at 100%. And don't forget, GeForce has that 10-minute timer thing, and I don't want it to time out. Alright, let's make sure the graphics are all properly set. Where's the options for this?
Welcome back, Ali.
Where's the options?
My track record's so clean, they couldn't wait to just...
Am I missing some settings? Everything should be ultra. Let's try that on ultra. Let's try extreme. Probably gonna die now, but... Please don't die. Okay.
Must be getting too flashy. Y'all shouldn't have let it work. It's too late, cause I'm here today. These guys know her. I sent her back to her boyfriend.
It's not working, seriously. Oh, it is.
City talking, we talking. Keep making posts. She's so proud of me that he choking up while he making toast. I'm the type that you can't control. Said I would, then I made it so. I don't clear up rumors. Where'd y'all sense of humor? I'm done making jokes cause they got old like baby boomers. Turn my haters to consumers. I make friends feel like they juniors. Say your time is coming soon, but this ain't mine is coming soon. I'm just a late bloomer. I didn't peak in high school, I'm still out here getting cuter. All these social networks and computers got these...
Is it too loud? My bad. It is too loud. I'm not trying to murder you guys, seriously. It was definitely not my fault. And the latency is perfect. Except for that part there. I totally didn't see that. But that's why I'm wearing glasses. So as you can see, look at the pedometer. Turn, right, left, right. But yeah, that should be enough for a test. Before I get demonetized completely. No, my PC can run it perfectly fine. I've got a 3090 Ti. But if I'm like streaming at the same time, this just takes all the pressure off my PC. But also on my like Steam Deck, I get 4080 graphics performance through the cloud on my Steam Deck, and it runs perfectly. Mark, I hope that was a good enough indication for you. And totally Sonic. Yep. Chaos for the Chaos Emeralds. And also Perfect Chaos, if you've ever played Sonic Adventure. And Prime from Metroid. Yeah, welcome, dude. We can now switch back to... That's a video. But yeah, honestly, like cloud gaming for me personally has just enabled me to be able to play more games because I can't always be on my PC, I can't always be on my consoles, but I do have my Steam Deck always with me. So jumping on for an hour or so, doing some stuff on the cloud is really handy.
So today...
All right, let's check this video out. More than likely, Susano. That would actually be interesting, Devastator, if it was. My PC stuff is this. Oh, come on. What? Are you seriously not going to let me type? Okay, you're not going to let me type. Hello Games is hiring? That's interesting. Maybe I'll apply. If they need QA, I'm their guy. Because I'm very good at QA. That's my current rig. Have you watched the full video about making the PlayStation Go? I have not, Brick. Send it to me via DM on Discord. All right, let's see what he's going to say. And if it's not loud enough, it should be. Let me know.
So today we got to talk about Sony. I'm just kind of losing my faith in current generation gaming. A good portion of it anyway.
Also, before we continue, does anyone actually know who this is? This is literally the first time I'm seeing this. I saw it come up on Twitter today. It's over top of performance of the consoles. So I'm going into this completely like I have no idea who this dude is. Never heard of him. Never seen anything of him. Let's see what his take is.
A fan of all these consoles, you know, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, but whenever you talk about one, people accuse you of being a fanboy. I talk about Xbox, you're like, you're a PlayStation fanboy. You talk about PlayStation, Xbox. No, I ain't no fanboy. I've spent my own hard-earned money to buy these consoles in hopes of having gaming goodness, and I feel let down in certain regards. All these companies deserve criticism when it's deserved, and they deserve praise when it's deserved.
That is a based point. I agree with him because I'm pretty much the same as he is, right? I buy all platforms at the launch of every generation, so I can walk into a store and buy whatever game I want. Not have to worry about if a game is available for any of the consoles that I have. Literally the reason why I go and buy every console. And I criticize Sony, Microsoft, anyone that needs criticizing, and I praise them when they do good.
And I think looking at what I'm looking at with Sony and the news today is kind of telling. Like, I remember the PS1, the PS2, the PS3 having so many awesome games. And even, you know, to a certain extent with the PS4, there was a lot of stuff I really liked. But now at the PS5, being so many years into its life cycle and all the craziness that's been going on, I'm just like, what's really the goal with Sony here? Now, I have this Wikipedia list up. Now, this is not like exclusive type thing, but I think it's kind of telling. So this is from the beginning of the PlayStation 1, not necessarily Sony developed games, but published games that, you know, Sony published. Or
Do you remember when Sony bought Psygnosis? It owned 40% of the gaming market. Do you remember when Sony bought them? And no one batted an eye and said anything? Yeah, that was a thing, right? But Destruction Derby was such a good game. Ridge Racer, such a good game.
co-published with another company, that kind of thing. And the PS1, just, you know, that was their...
Hey, it's still 40% of the market they owned. They bought the gaming industry. They bought their success.
First foray into a console, so they kind of co-published with a lot of developers. So the list is pretty big with PS1 through all these years. There's definitely games in here developed by Sony and whatnot, but just kind of as a visual, like, look at this. And if you like look at some of these games, a lot of them, you know, exclusive to Sony.
Look how
to
many
PlayStation
Psygnosis
brand,
is in there.
Consoles, right? Just going through and through and through. You get down to PS2, a lot of cool games here, a lot of stuff that I love. There's so many games that defined what Sony was to me. And
I mean, who wouldn't want another Time Crisis game as long as it bloody worked? You know, on our screens. Maybe even like a VR version of Time Crisis where we could actually use the... I mean, that would actually work, right? A VR Time Crisis. That would work. Why don't they do it? SOCOM was so good. Like, all these games that they had in the past, that huge catalog that they could fall upon. You know, gaming just isn't where it used to be anymore. You know, these games just don't exist.
a lot of them, yeah, initially the PS1 were, you know, third-party games, but you know, moving on, you know, Sony, they had a lot of companies that they owned or they developed, that type of thing, and there was so many awesome games that were coming out for these systems that nowadays I'm looking at the PS5 like, what is actually like Sony exclusive? Look at that PS3 Resistance Fall of Man.
Such a good game.
God. Yeah, like Killzone.
Good game.
I'm tired of talking about those games. I wish they would come back, but obviously that doesn't seem to be happening. Killzone 2. But then we getting down here. Where are we at? PS4. The list starts getting a little shorter here with certain things, but still a lot of cool stuff. But
The
then,
PS4
like,
was a good
like I
console.
said, this is like developed, published. It's just a big list, so don't like put too much value on that. But when you get down here to PS5, games that are published by Sony, you know, it's going to show certain things in other regions that it isn't really indicative of anything. It actually kind of makes it look better than the situation actually is. But, you know, when you start looking at this list, let's get to, you know, you could cross off these classics catalog. That could just kind of bumps up the numbers here. But 2022, these are the retail games. Wow, 2023, just last year, that was it. Final Fantasy 16, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition, Spider-Man 2, MLB The Show, which is on every console. So, it is.
And look at it, 2023 Forbidden West Complete Edition is just a repackage. Gran Turismo 7 VR support it's not a new game, it's just adding VR support. So, not a lot.
Is what it is. VR2, wow, they had 2 games, Firewall Ultra and Horizon Call of the Mountain.
And I've heard Firewall Ultra is bad, and Call of the Mountain is just not even worth the download space that you put it on. It's really, really bad. It's a bad game.
And then a big list of PS1 games.
My first PlayStation was a PS2. The PS2 was one of the greatest consoles ever released, alongside the 360. Those 2 consoles were the peak of gaming. The peak. Zone of the Enders, Metal Gear, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Oh, those games were peak, man. Halo 2 and 3. Oh, that was the pinnacle of gaming. Call of the Mountain is a reskin of a third-party game. It is. It's a complete reskin of a third-party game that was literally designed to climb mountains. I remember the Atari. I had it, 2600. Centipede was amazing. No one should ever criticize Centipede. I wish they would bring back... See, I never was a huge fan of Dino Crisis, but Parasite Eve was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Dino Crisis was okay. It was just another take on Resident Evil, but I preferred Resident Evil. But Parasite Eve was so good. Wasn't like it banned in some countries because of that intro with the theater where everyone was melting?
Classic catalog games, that kind of thing. 2024, Last of Us Part 2 remastered, and Helldivers. What the hell is defining Sony at the moment? Oh, I really wanted to play Final Fantasy 16. So to me, it's like, well, I could only play that on the PS5 at the moment, but it's not like an actual Sony game. It's, is it just the games that I look forward to playing on PlayStation nowadays are games that Sony is coming up with deals to have, exclusive first rights to, or timed exclusives? Where's the actual Sony games? What happened here? Oh, they shut down Japan Studio a few years ago, who had games, in my opinion, that defined Sony. Ape Escape, Legend of Dracoon, Ico, Wild Arms, Shadow of the Colossus, Loco Roco, Patapon, Gravity Rush, The Last Guardian, Knack. They're shutting down stuff that defined the...
Look, I think we can all agree, right, that the greatest game of all time on PlayStation is Knack. And that PlayStation absolutely needs a Knack 3. We can all agree on that, right? Knack was the best PlayStation game of all time. And just to make it better with Knack 2, there was 2 of them. Double the Knack. So for Knack 3, we need triple the Knack.
Console. Now, they're shutting down London Studio. They did like iPad SingStar, like all these SingStar games, and it says that they were... it says right here that London Studio, they assisted the development of other Sony titles such as Killzone 2 and Little Big Planet. But yeah, they had like iToy games, SingStar, tons of SingStar games. Maybe people were into those, but all right. Yeah, London Studio is going. Japan Studio, London Studio. What's going on here? So they announced today difficult news about their workforce. Jim Ryan, the president.
And do you know what? This is one thing I don't know if Microsoft did this. And maybe someone can correct me because I genuinely don't remember. It's not selective memory or selective amnesia. I don't remember. Maybe someone can remind me. But did Microsoft come out with a form of release to say that they were letting go X amount of employees, 1,900 employees, or was it leaked by the media? I can't remember. But I don't think Microsoft actually came out and said anything. And I'll give Sony credit for this. They at least got ahead of everyone and just hit it out publicly and said, we're owning this. We're doing this. I don't agree with why they're doing it, but they've given their reasons as to why they're doing it. And yeah, so credit for that at least.
And the CEO put out this email to people within the organization that they're letting go about 900 people, 8% of their current workforce. There will be impact for employees across all regions, Americas, Japan, everywhere. Several studios are affected. And he states, I know that receiving this news will be hard and unsettling. You are wondering what this means for you. And they list down here.
I mean, it's a bit of
For
that too,
those
digit.
of you in the U.S., all impacted employees will be notified today. You're gone. Bye-bye. But if you're in the UK, it is proposed the PlayStation Studio, London Studio will close in its entirety. There will be reductions in Firesprite Studio. What is
Firesprite Studio is their VR department, by the way. So that pretty much tells you that VR is dead. VR is no longer a priority. The PSVR 2 has failed. And all those people that were saying that it's a monumental success and it's doing so good, I guess they were wrong. But Firesprite is pretty much the studio that was dealing with their first... I mean, they're the ones that made Call of the Mountain. And I think they also did Firewall. I want to say they did Firewall. But they were also working on a couple of other VR games. They were basically their first party VR studio. And if they're having reductions there, that's pretty much a nod to say goodbye VR. And it kind of coincides with them, pushing the VR headset over to PC to try and see if it can actually work there. And this is why I'm saying that I can see all PlayStation games going day and date to PC, because for some reason, honestly, PC is seen as this platform that doesn't kind of interfere with the console market. PC gamers generally just don't interfere, don't mix with the console. A few small percentage will, and I guess you might lose those, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just a bigger market of growth potential. So it makes sense to go day and date with PC, because if you don't go day and date, people aren't interested 5 years down the line to play a game that's already old that you're releasing for $70. And that's why those games don't sell well. And then Sony sits there wondering, why didn't this sell well? Well, if you're charging $70 for a 5-year-old game, there's a bit of a problem there.
Firesprite Studio done? No, they did Horizon Call of the Mountain, co-developed with Guerrilla Games. They did some VR stuff, the Playroom VR, Persistence. Okay, so their impact.
What was Persistence? I've never heard of that.
And there will be reductions in various functions across SIE in the UK. The proposed changes mean that we'll enter a period of collective consultation before any final decisions are made. All employees who are part of the collective consultation will be made aware of the next steps. In Japan, they're going to implement a next career support program. Nowhere else, though. Japan, they do things differently, I guess. In other countries, we'll begin conversations with those who are potentially at risk, are impacted as a result of this proposed course of action. I thought things were going good for Sony, as far as like, hey, having a good selling console, having their very small handful of games that they, have rights to, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, stuff that I'm not like, I know are crazy popular, but I'm not like that interested in it. I don't see Sony taking risks anymore, putting out interesting stuff, and that can be said for
no one is taking risks at the moment, because when they take risks, if it fails, it's bye-bye studio, right? Just look at games like Forspoken. I think Forspoken is actually a really good game. I really enjoyed my time with it. I bought it. I own it physically. I own it digitally. I really liked it. It did have some launch problems on PC, and it also had, the demo was awful. The demo was horrendously bad compared to the main game. The main game played nothing like the demo. It was crazy how they released the demo. But if a game does bad today, it's bye-bye studio. And we've seen this with all games, right? Like, taking a risk today is very expensive. and it's the risk is too high. So taking those risks, you just don't get it anymore. You don't get it on Xbox. You don't get it on PlayStation. No one's taking the risks outside of Nintendo because they're always making a profit.
For all these, companies out there.
I think it was a good game.
I just feel like, there's supposedly a live service game of Twisted Metal that was being developed.
I enjoyed the base game
by
and the
London
DLC.
Studio, or in the early stages, and that's gone. I don't care about live service stuff. Why couldn't they just make a Twisted Metal game that plays normal, has a good story mode, a little multiplayer online mode, not this live service crap? But okay, that was scrapped. I'm just like, Sony is not Sony anymore. The PS5 just feels like it just doesn't feel like the PlayStation anymore, and that's disappointing.
Don't say so.
Like I said,
Josh.
all those games to me that defined PlayStation no longer around. But what do I know? I mean, maybe those games weren't selling. They weren't making money for Sony. They know their business better than I do. I just know it feels crazy that this company doesn't feel the same. They don't have the same type of games anymore. They rely on just third parties. They're going to throw money at other companies to put their games first on their system. But where's the effort of them making actual awesome exclusive games where it's like, I have to own a PlayStation to play this stuff? That's just disappearing, man. It is what it is, I guess. But there you go. Let me know what you guys think. That's my rant and ramble for the day. Bye.
There's some decent stuff he said there. Like, I think the biggest take from what he's saying is that this generation of gaming, be it on Xbox or PlayStation, hasn't been great. And I agree with that. In terms of the gaming output on both platforms, it's been okay, but it's not been great from either side in terms of first party showing. And they kind of, and I'm comparing it back to, like the PS2 and the PS3 era. Those were the peak of, the generation of gaming where games were just coming out all over the place and they were just great and everyone was having a good time. But personally, this generation, I'm quite disappointed. I don't think, me personally, I got my money's value from it. And I think they could have done a lot better. But, I still think this is a based response. Closing London Studio and downsizing Firesprite, PSVR 2 is dead and given to the hands of PC to get some crumbs back. They're also using the pathetic excuse that others used before, the "we need to do this to ensure better experiences" nonsense. Which is bollocks, by the way. It's absolutely bollocks. What's this? The company is working on a device that uses AI to release scents matching your gameplay. What if the game is all about a dump and people farting? That's not gonna really go well, is it? Andromeda was bashed for its graphical curse, I guess you want to say. It's not a bad game. It's not an amazing game, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was getting panned. People generally found 2 or 3 clips in the game that were awful, and then every single reviewer showed those clips. It's the same with Forspoken. The whole, I just did that with my mind. And then every single clip you saw in a review or anywhere else used that clip to try and get their point across, when there were plenty of other, story beats, gameplay beats in the actual game, boss fights that were actually really, really well done. And none of that was shown because that wouldn't support the narrative of this being a bad game, so they can bash on it until it's dead. They show the parts that are absolutely, they feel is going to get the best reaction. And honestly, even that part, up to the point where she said, I just did that with my mind. If you played the beginning of the game and got to that point, contextually, that actually makes a lot of sense with what she said. Because a normal person would probably say the same thing if you actually, were living the life she was from the beginning. But none of that is shown in context. Context is everything. But a lot of things are taken out of context. Like, look at Destin's podcast, for example. He turned around and said that he played Death Stranding on Xbox. But 2 seconds later, he said no, it was on PC Game Pass. But they cut it just at the right point to make him look silly. It's just the way it is, right? It just wasn't a good... Yeah, I agree, Atty. It wasn't like a good Mass Effect game, but it was a good game. It was a fine game to play. No, Dubs, I'm not saying everyone has to like every game. I think God of War Ragnarok is boring as fuck. I think it's really damn boring. I'm struggling to finish the game. I think it's absolutely boring as hell. The 2018 game was insanely good. I couldn't put it down. But Ragnarok is really, really, really boring. Like, I was falling asleep playing it. So, like, not every game is for everyone. I know people that live and breathe Ragnarok and say it's one of the best games they've ever played. On the other hand, I absolutely love The Last of Us 2. I think it's a fantastic game. I love the story. I love the whole plot to it. I like the whole, character development. People didn't see it. I did. And the way, certain things were pushed towards the end just made things, that bit more intense. But, not everyone has to like every game that others like. I'm just saying that people clip something that they know is going to get a reaction, and if it does, the whole media jumps on that one scene. And when you watch the reviews, when you watch stuff, it's always the same clips being used. Nothing different. Anyway, let's check out this guy. Not going to shit on him too much because he's having a really bad time in real life. So,
Sony has just fired a huge chunk of PlayStation developers. They just entirely closed
I still don't get why he shows the controller.
PlayStation game studio, and to be honest, I'm a bit concerned about the future of PlayStation games. But let's talk about that. Hi, I'm Dreamcast Guy, and if you could give...
It's a big difference between the bloodbath that was for Xbox, but just laid off a bunch of guys for PlayStation.
This video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So this is going to be a bleak video because it does seem like the industry as a whole is just in a very bad spot, which doesn't really make sense.
In contrast, when it was about Xbox, these fiendish humans that were laying off people without a whim of care, they were absolutely ruining lives, and it made me want to tear my shirt. I'm not going to rip my t-shirt, but made him rip his t-shirt apart with rage. But it's just an industry thing now, right?
Video games are making more billions of dollars than ever. We get more AAA releases. We have crazier peripherals. We've got new innovative indie explosions happening. But somehow it seems like the...
Kenepa, this is a true story, right? I'm not going to say what company it was, but when I was in the games industry, on Valentine's Day, there was a pink card on certain people's desks, and I didn't get one. And I got a little offended that I didn't get a Valentine's card from the company because I thought everyone was getting like a bonus. So I went and asked the QA manager, why didn't I get one? And he just said, you didn't get one? And I said, yeah. And he goes, good. Count your blessings. Shut up. Go sit down. Don't say a word and just do your work. I said, okay, fine. First thing in the morning at 7 a.m. That's not what you want to hear from your line manager, but okay. So I went and sat down, and those Valentine's cards that people got on Valentine's Day was their P45 telling them that they've just been fired. Yeah. Yeah. That's a true story.
Biggest companies are doing the biggest layoffs. So PlayStation has just announced in the most PR speak possible that they're doing a global reduction of the workforce. Now, what this actually means is that they're shutting stuff down. They're firing 900 employees, which is 8% of their current workforce. Now, I do want to make it clear, there have been some apparent talks that PlayStation may attempt to absorb Bungie. Right now, Bungie, while they are technically bought and purchased by PlayStation, they're still under the Sony umbrella. That's why the stuff that Bungie works on is still coming to Xbox and PC and whatever else. So it seems like right now, this doesn't even involve that. I think that if they do merge Bungie into themselves, there's probably going to be a second wave of these layoffs. But this is just wild to me. So here we go. London Studio is being entirely shut down. This is one of the more popular studios internally. Apparently, they've been working on secret PS5 projects, which I guess now are just never going to see the light of day. Reduction in Firesprite Studio. This is the person that's been working on some PSVR 2 stuff. I guess we don't know what else they're going to be working on. Typically, these companies sometimes, if they reduce your workforce, it's just a matter of being like, okay, you don't get to work on new big projects. Now you're just going to be doing ports and remasters and backup for a different team. Several PlayStation studios are being affected. This is all regions, including the Americas, this, Japan, and this.
Why do people constantly struggle to read out EMEA and APAC? It's so weird. Why do they struggle to read EMEA and APAC? It's the second video now where they just gloss over EMEA and APAC as a region.
I don't know what these regions are. Now, honestly, this is kind of, I don't want to say the word vicious, but Jim Ryan visited PlayStation Studios 4 days ago. 5 days ago, they visited London Studio, and I guess they probably walked in and told them they're all fired. These people don't look like they realize they're about to all be fired in a matter of days. This kind of stuff sucks to me because right now in 2024, this news is incredibly brutal. It is wild that the industry continues to implode. Embracer is one of the biggest gaming conglomerates backed by billionaires, and they've been mass buying up everything from Deus Ex to Tomb Raider to everything else, and then they fired a bunch of the devs that were even working on those projects. These companies, the biggest problem with video games, and I'm being dead serious about it, let me tell you the problem with video games. It's not necessarily microtransactions. It's not necessarily overpriced games or short experiences or glitchy graphics. In my opinion, the biggest problem with video games is that investors make the art. The coolest experiences, the craziest, flashiest, 5-phase mutant with titty.
Demolisher, 100%. 100%. Do you remember when he was talking about the Xbox layoffs? It was all a bloodbath. How it infuriated him. He ripped off his shirt and everything. Look how tame he is now when it comes to PlayStation. Like, and then he wonders why people go for him. I said that Xbox layoffs was shit, although it was a merger. So I kind of half expected, everyone expected there to be layoffs with a merger. We also know that Activision were going to lay off those staff members anyway. So they were already in the works of laying them off. The process had already started. So there was that as well. Because they overhired. They hired, I think it was like 7,000 employees during the merger. For what reason? But he went ballistic about that, right? And now it's happening to Sony, and it's so tame.
That shoot lava milk. That's the kind of stuff that people make to entertain us. And now it's being funded by people that pick stuff by blindly asking what sells the most. And if it doesn't sell, they fire you for it. Now,
hey, did you see that? It was Tom Warren, but he's blocked me now, so...
Here's the part of it that's extra bizarre to me, which is the fact that it sounds like PlayStation is betting on the impossible. This is Herman Hulst, one of the heads of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, and he said essentially that they need to start finding other ways to make money outside their typical blockbuster first-party games. Like, consider it. What sells the most PlayStation 5s? It's games like Spider-Man. It's games like God of War Ragnarok. It's games like Horizon. It's those huge, big, giant, single-player, focused narrative experiences. That's what PlayStation, in my opinion, has really built their brand on for about the last 12 years. You do get games like Killzone and SOCOM sprinkled in there. You get other styles of games, but the stuff that...
When was the last SOCOM? Did I miss the last SOCOM during the PS4?
It's selling consoles, is Days Gone, it's Knack 3, it's stuff like that. So the fact that they're actually saying, hey, we need to print money with our live service games or we can't keep making big narrative games is insanity. Helldivers 2 is a huge success for PlayStation, but, they just ate the cost of Last of Us live service game completely folding. All of this, in my opinion, just completely sucks. I don't like the fact that PlayStation is becoming afraid of their own shadow. I'm seeing so many people that actually work in video games saying that the industry is just in shambles. And I'm not sure that PlayStation exactly knows how to get out of this mess.
Not start, that is cold, man. Skibbity bab bab.
PS4, the PS5 have undoubtedly been massive, massive successes. And I almost think that it's because of momentum. I think that what Sony did, purely by accident, in my opinion, with the PlayStation 4 is they finally positioned themselves as the default console. Everybody bought a PS4 because it was like, okay, this is where I go to play Call of Duty. It's where I'll play No Man's Sky. It's where I'll play that new random cool third-party stuff. And the exclusives are good. But now, here we are. The PlayStation 5. Game development is more expensive, it's more timely, everything takes years and years to finish, and now it means that even if you do love the PS4 and the PS5, you're getting games drip-fed to you instead of that lightning pace. And so the industry is kind of trying to cannibalize itself. Okay, let's take our existing fans and try and sell them new consoles every 3 years.
He's not actually talking about the people being laid off at all. He's not talking how it's bad for them, how it's terrible for them. He's literally just turned this into an industry-wide problem. But it was an industry-wide problem when Microsoft laid off staff. Or when Embracer lays off staff. And he goes absolutely apeshit.
Years instead of every 6 years. How many studios can we close before we go back into the green? I'm kind of rambling, because to be honest, I haven't had my Red Bull yet, and this kind of stuff does irk me. My favorite version of PlayStation is when they're being stupid, when they're trying stuff out, when they're experimenting with the best games that could possibly be made. And now we have a PlayStation that does genuinely seem like they just aren't ready to be this big. They seem so unprepared for being the console leader. I don't know. These are just some off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you think about PlayStation?
I don't know. I think this was a very, very tame video. I'm a little disappointed. Do you know whose video is not going to be tame? Do we have time to watch it? Do we have time to watch it, chat? Alright, we've got time for one video. Let's see. Alright, let's go with this one.
The video game industry is absolutely... And when I say that, I'm really not being hyperbolic. You see, the thing is, we are already outpacing 2023's total layoffs in the first few months of 2024. This is absolutely unprecedented.
And it's going to get
Really,
worse.
The more insane thing is, it's just going to keep getting worse. Now, why am I bringing this up and why am I connecting this to AAA gaming? Well, it's very simple. You see, it turns out that today, PlayStation has now announced that they are letting go of 900 employees, which is around 8% of the total workforce, and shutting down an entire London studio. This all comes about a week after Hiroki Totoki announced that they missed their mark in PS5 console sales and stating how the margins of gaming have become incredibly thin. Now, honestly, I think there's more to this story than meets the eye, so let's go ahead and take a look from the actual PlayStation blog post announcing this and talk more. From Jim Ryan, president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, he made a post today saying, "The PlayStation community means everything to us, so I felt it was important to update you on a difficult day at our company. We have made the extremely hard decision to announce our plan to commence a reduction of our overall headcount globally by about 8% or 900 people, subject to local law and consultation processes. Employees across the globe, including our studios, are impacted." Now, some people...
Alex, he makes all sorts of content, right? From news posts to salt mining to port reviews. He does all sorts of content. His port reviews aren't reviews of games, by the way. They're just how good the port actually is and how well it runs, which is, you know, valuable to people. On PC anyway.
People are reporting this is just 900 people and just a London studio, which honestly, the London studio is going to be closed down, yes, but this also impacts other studios as well, including Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and etc. So this isn't just a simple one place closing down. This is a mass layoff across multiple studios and multiple locations. We are heading into a spiral that people are not really prepared for in terms of the gaming industry, and honestly, I feel at some point we're going to be heading into our second crash. Jim Ryan continues by saying, "These are incredibly talented people who have been part of our success, and we're very grateful for their contributions. However, the industry has changed immensely, and we need to future ready ourselves to set the business up for what lies ahead. We need to deliver our expectations from developers and gamers and continue to propel future technology in gaming. So we look to take a step back to ensure we are set up to continue bringing the best gaming experiences to the community." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest load of horse I've honestly ever seen. You see, the thing is, they don't really care about bringing experiences to the community or to gaming. What they care about is the bottom dollar. And basically, not hitting your targets of sales pretty much says, oh, you didn't make your money here? What's the highest cost that you have right now? People, fire them. That's pretty much it.
Didn't I say that at the beginning of the stream? For those of you that were here, the easiest way to get out of the red is to let go of staff, because that is the easiest way to get straight back into the black. That's it. It's exactly what I said right at the beginning of the stream. You know, if you're not doing well, the fastest way to do it is to lay staff off, because that's an instant revenue increase.
Your margins are low, fire them, let them go, get them out of here, because they're not making the games that are making the money that we want to go ahead and see the increase of that line go up every single year. And the problem is, these are expectations set by shareholders and stakeholders and also CEOs and CFOs from an era of time not 3 years ago where the entire world was in absolute turmoil. That's right, people were in their homes, stuck in their homes, doing nothing, and they could go ahead and escape from the actual insanity of being locked inside of four walls by playing video games for hours on end because they had nothing to do, no job where to go, and they had those stimmy checks coming in hand.
That's what we call the COVID bubble, where the demand was high and they couldn't supply fast enough. So they employed a hell of a lot of people in order to make sure they could hit that demand. But then people found out that they could touch grass eventually, and when they started touching grass and was able to go out and do whatever weird and wonderful things they do outside in the real world and aren't stuck behind the four walls of their confounded home space, well, guess what? If they're outside, they're not buying games, they're not playing games. If they're stuck at home, then they're stuck at home, so they're playing more games. But if you're out and about, chances are gaming isn't on your mind.
That increase in profitability, that increase in everything happening throughout that time should not be indicative of what you should expect on a yearly basis. Most companies are seeing this as, we saw the line go up, let's keep pushing it up, instead of saying, oh, this was a blip and it is not normal. But hey, corpo's in a corpo, am I right? He states, team, it is important to provide you with updates about the business as often as possible. Today I'm writing with sad news. Through discussions over the past few months about the evolving economic landscape, changes in the way we develop, distribute, and launch products, and ensuring our organization is future ready in this rapidly changing industry, we have concluded that tough decisions have become inevitable. The leadership team and I have made an incredibly difficult decision to restructure operations, which regrettably includes a reduction in our workforce, impacting very talented individuals who have contributed to our success. Every time, it's always the same thing.
We made a regrettably tough decision that we had to mull over and think about, and the decision is, we're shutting you guys down. Sorry.
That's not a tough decision. What you've done is very simple. You look at an Excel graph and you say, hey, the line is here. The line should be here instead. So what's our biggest cost? People. How do we get that line to go up? By having more money in our pockets? Firing people. Ta-da, decision done. You guys do this in a cold, calculated, and manipulative way to try and go ahead and make everyone be your family, when in reality, all you care about is the bottom dollar. Don't mince words. Don't say these fake lies you're trying to perpetuate like you had a tough call. Just say, we did meet our targets. We gotta let you go. That's the deal. People would actually have more respect for you if you did that than trying to do the corpo. We're a family. We're together. We care about each other. No, you don't. You care about the bottom line. Just admit it in the first place, Jimmy Jim. Jim Ryan continues the email by saying,
I mean, he's right. When he's right, he's right. Because that is all these executives care about. And something Phil Spencer said during the business update was that by pushing these 4 games to other platforms, number one, it stops him nickel and diming the Xbox community. And number 2, it stops layoffs. Because there's revenue coming into those studios. Because regardless of whether Microsoft is a $3 trillion company, each of those studios have their own profit and loss. And if their profit and loss is in the loss and not in the profit, the first thing to go is staff, so it can go back into the profit. So in this way, by pushing games to other platforms, the 4 at least, they're averting that. And the fact that they promised the FTC that they were going to do it anyway.
After careful consideration and many leadership discussions over several months, it has become clear changes need to be made to continue to grow the business and develop the company. We had to step back, look at our business historically, and move forward focusing on the long-term sustainability of the company and delivering in the best experiences possible for our community. The goal is to streamline our resources to ensure continued success and ability to deliver experiences gamers and creators have come to expect from us. And see, this is what actually ties to the video I was going to make later on this week, but honestly, this news coincides directly with that concept. There have been 3 games that are literally kicking the shit out of most AAA game studios. That's Palworld, Helldivers, and Last Epoch. 3 games by small studios that have been dominating the sales charts continuously over and over, destroying player counts on Steam, being used for fanboy console wars, even though these games are multi-platform, because they are on PC as well. PC is another platform. We could talk about that another time. These games made by 200 plus people at some time, maybe even less, have been just literally going around and just destroying the entire industry, because people are really sick and tired of the AAA modern blockbuster video game. They don't care about that anymore. People want an actual gaming experience, and it shows it directly because of Helldivers, because of Palworld, because of Last Epoch. You see it constantly happen over and over again. These smaller scope games with a better price tag, better monetization structures, and better ways of actually engaging the player continuously through gameplay are what people actually crave.
See, that's the other thing, right? If a game is priced at $20, $30, people are willing to take a punt at it. Even if they don't like it, even if they end up hating it, they're willing to take that risk because $20, $30 is way better and way more appealing to just give it a chance than $70. At $70, you won't take that punt. You won't take that risk. You'll wait until the price drops. But if a game launches at $20 like Palworld did, or $30 like Helldivers did, it's a fair bet that you're willing to give it a chance. And that's the difference, right? And that's how these games are selling so many more copies, because those people that normally would be on the fence are saying, you know what, I'll give this a chance. I'll give it a go. But Devastator with the $2 Canadian, Chaos, maybe we could get a multi-plat Sunset Overdrive 2. That was attempted by Insomniac and Sony said no. Unfortunately, they said no. Because any game that they release, if they remake the original or any sequel that comes, has to go to the Xbox platform as well. It's part of the contract. And they said no.
Not the actual AAA, quadruple A graphics, insanity thing, and the motion capture and all that stuff. Is that stuff great sometimes? Yes. Is it great all the time? Absolutely fucking no. And we see this being even more prevalent because of games like Skull and Bones, where a quadruple A game, by Ubisoft's own words and admissions, literally plays worse than most early access games on Steam that are pretty much just rehashes and just reskins of Unity asset flips. Even Sean Layden said it himself. This kind of model is completely unsustainable. And the fact that companies are still doing it pretty just goes to show that they have no fresh ideas and they don't know where to go from here. In the email, Jim Ryan states, we envision reducing our headcount by 900 people, or about 8% of our current workforce. There will be impact for employees across all SIE regions, Americas, EMEA, Japan, and APAC. Several PlayStation studios will also be affected. For those of you in the US, all impacted employees will be notified today. In the UK, it is proposed that the PlayStation Studios London studio will close in its entirety, that there will be reductions in Firespite Studio, and that there will be reductions in various functions across SIE in the UK. You know what's really...
Dubs, times have changed, but they need to be prepared to release games on Xbox. And until they make that announcement, it's not going to happen.
Funny about all of this, when I talk about like corpos and their lies, not 5 days ago, Jim Ryan was in fact in the London studio of PlayStation, hanging out and saying, wow, look at us being a family and all together. 5 days later, pack your bags, we're closing the place down, you're all fired, you clowns. You see what I'm talking about? The double speak, the insanity, the fact that these companies don't care about you, they don't care about the employees, they don't care about the gamers, they don't care about anything else except your pocket. When I make fun of fanboys on a weekly basis who suckle off these companies every single time because they think these companies are their friends when they're not. It's not just Firespite and the London studio as well as getting closed down or getting layoffs. We're also seeing layoffs because of Guerrilla Games, Insomniac, Naughty Dog. You know those real 3 big ones that everybody talks about how great their games are, how many sales they make, how much money they make all the time? Well, apparently they're not making enough money because nobody's buying the damn games, or at least enough to actually keep people employed in the first place. Jim Ryan finishes off his email by saying, for those who will be leaving SIE, you are leaving this company with our deepest respect and admiration for all your efforts during your tenure. For those who will be staying at SIE, we'll be saying goodbye to friends and colleagues that we cherished during the process, and this will be painful. Your resilience, sensitivity, and adaptiveness will be critical in the weeks and months to come. This will not be easy, and I'm aware of the impact it will have on well-being. Affected employees will receive support, including severance benefits. While these are challenging times, it is not indicative of a lack of strength of our company, our brand, and our industry. Our goal is to remain agile and adaptable, and to continue to focus on delivering the best gaming experiences possible now and in the future. Didn't we see this exact same thing happen before? Oh, I know. We saw it happen to Microsoft. We saw it happen to Bungie, where they started laying people off. And then they turn around and they're like, oh no, we let off too many people. Now we got to hire some people back. It's the same.
I mean, Bungie actually laid off so much that they had to call upon Sony to bring staff in to be able to actually deliver some of their project deadlines, which is crazy, right?
Same. It's the same. How could anybody work in this industry in any big developer studio? It boggles my mind. The fact that we've had so many developers go out and lambast games like Palworld, consistently saying like, oh, it uses AI. Oh, there's something fishy going on here. Oh, it's not up to snuff. When in reality, your job is going to be replaced by AI at some point. You better start saving those shekels, my boy. Going into game development right now is honestly a fool's errand if you are not doing independent work and not doing it by yourself or even contract work. Because these studios do not care about you. They never have cared about you. Sony, Microsoft, everybody else, even Valve, do not care about you. Did
you hear that? You know, I've been saying that for ages, including Valve. None of them give two shits about anyone. All they care about is the money that's in your wallet. good to see someone with identical views to me.
They care about the money they can pull from your pocket, and that's exactly how they're going to operate. The way they do it is going to be different, but they only care about the money that they actually pull from you directly. So trying to evangelize them, saying that they have your best interest and all these other things, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. These companies only want one thing and one thing only: to watch that line go into the black from the red and go up and up and up every single quarter, every single fiscal year. And that's all they ever will care about. And the thing is, trying to sit here and say, oh, these guys are so great, they make the games I love them so much, you are placing an emotional state into a company that does not care about you emotionally back at all. And the crazier part about all of this is that the industry itself is going to implode. I've called this for many a time. Herman Hulst even said it himself, that the way they're going to be moving forward is pushing more on PC and mobile. PlayStation games will go on PC day and date. Xbox will start putting more games on more platforms to satiate a bigger demand, to make more revenue and money. Everybody is going to go full third party because there aren't enough people buying one specific console in order to go ahead and make the money that they want to make. And to make it even worse, they're probably going to go ahead and increase monetization strategies inside of those games to make you spend more money, whether they give you a smaller price point up front, but then charge you more in-game product or in-game power for that kind of game. It happens all the time, and we see it all the time. This is just the beginning of what the industry is going to go through.
Yeah, here's the biggest sadness, dude. I worked 2 years of overtime straight on StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty made less money than the horse, the first Sparkle Pony horse in World of Warcraft. A $15 microtransaction horse
Jesus.
made more money than StarCraft 2. That's it. That's the whole meme, dude. You're wondering why these companies do microtransactions? Because dipshits keep buying all of them.
And in reality, I think that's where the industry is going to be headed.
Facts.
You're going to be seeing less of the big budget AAA games and more of the smaller budget, more game-centric focused, more mechanics-focused video games. And honestly, I'm here for it because that's the kind of game that I've always enjoyed. And really, that's the kind of game you should actually enjoy too. These big budget, high graphic fidelity, high motion capture games are really just there for showpieces and list wars for fanboys on Twitter. Yeah, it looks great on your 4K TV every once in a while, but you know what? The gameplay is always going to be rote, bland, and boring, and it's always going to be watered down to the most basic set of people that actually play video games or even don't play games. Why do you think so many people love The Last of Us? It's not because it's good. It's not. Hot take Alex coming in. It's because it is the most watered down video game you could possibly imagine. It appeals to casuals and normies more than anything. People who don't play video games play The Last of Us and they say, this is the best game ever made. You know why? Because it doesn't play like a video game. That's why. The industry itself, the size that it's in, is actually going to
I'm always going to disagree with him here. The Last of Us series is one of my favorite of all time. I am always going to disagree with anyone on The Last of Us because I enjoy the story. The combat is fine. I think it's just a good game. You know, it might not be for everyone, but then again, none of these games are. But, you know, maybe it's because I'm a parent and I've got that emotional attachment, especially with the first game. But who knows? I don't know what it is. But overall, I really, really enjoyed those two games. Way more than I enjoyed the Uncharted games.
Shrink. Right now we're seeing it flatline. We're not seeing any more gains or any losses. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see the actual core audience of gaming itself stay the same, while the outside periphery of casual gamers is going to shrink even further. And that's going to be what's going to cause a lot of companies and developers to start laying off more people because there aren't going to be enough people to actually put those games out what they need to be. You're going to be seeing much smaller sets of video games come out, where the AAA big budget banger will come out maybe like once a year at the most, but you're going to be seeing a lot of smaller titles with smaller budgets fill up those gaps over time. And honestly, that could be our second renaissance of video games. It could be seen as a good way because the people that are being laid off could open up their own studios, go independent, really put games out that they really enjoy or really want to work on, have passion projects that could really be successful. And on top of that, we could see those actual game dev studios take a bit more risk because they know their core audience is going to be there more so than actually trying to go ahead and satiate a group of people that are completely fickle. And you're going to
I disagree, Devastator. I disagree. I think it's a good game. I think it's a really good game.
Be seeing them come in and out and come back and forth, and you're not going to be able to rely on them. What they can rely on, though, in a business sense, is that core gaming audience. And really, You do not win that audience over by those big budget AAA games. You win that audience over by smaller, action-packed, mechanics-driven video games that people
I'm not taking my shirt off
play with their friends, because that's really the big issue around here. People are so focused on trying to have these graphical fucking jerk-off wars on Twitter about which game has better graphics or animations, and not really what's the better game in general. When you're seeing it happen in front of your eyes with those games that we've talked about, like Pal World, Helldivers, and Last Epoch. And really the only outlier between all of this, from what I'm seeing, is probably going to be Nintendo. And why do I say that? Because I don't think they've mass hired throughout the pandemic. I think they've kept everything the same, and they haven't been really adjusting what they've been doing. They've been working on the Switch 2. They've even delayed it to March next year from unofficial reports. And they're not really focusing on what everybody else in the industry is going for. They're doing their own thing. And that may really be the best course of action for a lot of people. I think what's going to happen is with these layoffs, if they follow Nintendo's track record, people that were laid off in general, and they go their own separate direction, and they build their own games, and they start leaning things out, and they really put things into perspective, they could really make games and titles and studios on their own and be independent that could really benefit the gaming industry and be more successful than they were at a big box developer studio. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Do you think there's going to be more layoffs coming? Because I certainly think so. And let me know what else you think about is going to be happening in the industry, because honestly, I feel we may be coming into a second crash, but also possibly another renaissance in video games. Let me know your thoughts, your feedback, and your ideas as well. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more gaming news, PC port reviews, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and Alex hot takes, and streams every Saturday night at 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We've just broken 62,000 subs, and it means it's amazing. So I want to say thank you guys so very much. Now, if you want access to emotes and Discord access during live streams, consider becoming a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you
All right, let's put a great video here. If you haven't seen the video yet, why can't I post anything in here? Drop it a view. I'll drop the other video as well. A view would be nice. So weird. There you go. Those are the two videos. But ultimately, you know, he's not wrong. I've been saying the same thing for a long time now. And it is where the industry is going. It's going to bust. It's going to burst. And more layoffs are going to happen. And less risks are going to be taken. And, you know, it just is what it is. It's sad, but it is what it is. But layoffs are, unfortunately, a curse of the whole COVID bubble. But, you know, what he's saying is true. At the end of the day, when it comes to the layoffs, all these businesses, even where I'm working right now, where we're seeing layoffs on a weekly basis, I'm not joking. We are seeing layoffs where I work on a weekly basis. People are just disappearing overnight. And there's been, no mention. We find out that they've gone or they've left or they've been let go because we need something done by them and they're no longer here. Like a whole creative department got let go, for example. And we needed something done the other day and we couldn't do it because they don't exist. So we had to send the request to New York. But, these suits will look at the spreadsheet and say, right, what's the easiest way to let people go? And they just look at the numbers. And they say, right, that person there, he earns a lot of money. Get rid of him. Like, a number of years ago, there was a situation where the company wasn't doing very good and they were looking to let go someone in QA. And it was between me and my line manager. And the only reason my line manager got let go was because he earned more. So he saved the company more by being let go. That was it. It sucks. But it is what it is. But folks, that is going to be the stream for today. That's pretty much going to be it. How is Helldivers doing? Let's have a look. Still hasn't broken 300k. Go away. And that kind of just reiterates my point, I guess, at this point. But thanks so much for hanging out tonight, folks. Thank you for the super chats, for the subs, for the gifted subs. I appreciate you all. And I should be back on Thursday. And yeah, maybe on Friday if I do pick up Rebirth. We'll do some gaming on Friday with Rebirth as well. That's it. Thanks so much. Have a good one, folks. And remain legend. Peace out. See ya.